I think you can lead a creative life, live your life like a masterpiece. And it doesn't necessarily have to be doing, you know, art like paintings. That is just creating a life. Yeah, just call me Bob, man. Don't say sir.
Are we here at Bob Cage's Sculpture Farm?
Well, that's what they call it, but the name of the place is Shanti, which means peace, I suppose, in Sanskrit. I just like the sound of it. It's an Indian word, and it means peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, you know, and I think it's a pretty rather peaceful place down here, so I just like that name. My dog is named, where's my dog? Right, he's over here, Shakti. That means energy. Energy, but you can tell has working. He's sound asleep. I've been doing sculpture for quite a while now. I started when I was in Rhodesia back in the 70s. I was doing art. I got a degree in art over there. I was in tobacco business. I was a tobacco auctioneer. About 6 years there, and I went to school and got a degree. And while I was there, I met a great teacher who taught the natives in a town called Bulawayo sculpture, and he gave me a big piece of soapstone and said, make something. So I did. I made the thing like a Madonna with a child sort of thing, and it made a show over there. And that inspired me, and I continued painting, and I got a degree there, and then I studied in France for a summer, which was all sort of part of my resume. I don't know what I learned. Not a hell of a lot, I don't think, really. I think most of your learning is experience, and particularly in art, you know, you want to express yourself and find out who you are through your art. And so, of course, you're influenced by people. I was influenced by the Cubist group, Braque and Picasso, and I'm influenced by Henry Moore and David Smith and different sculptors. But I don't like doing. I don't want to do anything like somebody else. I want to find out what I'm about. And I don't mind who really. I've got two people who work for me pretty consistently, doing welding and brazing. When there's ever carving to be done, I do that. But my main thing is conceptualizing it, designing it, getting the materials. I don't care who helps put them together, just as long as it's done. And I can make a quicker statement with sculpture than I can with painting. Paintings usually take me longer, and I paint over a lot. But it's a passion and a purpose for me. It's what I enjoy doing most, and hopefully make a difference. I guess maybe up here where I've got all this stuff, I may have 40 or 50 pieces, and I'm continuing to do it. And I sell some occasionally, but mostly I do it because I like the fact that people in the county don't have to go to Washington to see work like sort of like this, or to Raleigh, and a lot of people come here and enjoy it, and that's a pleasure for me. And I use mostly recycled stuff. Some of that's given to me, some of it I'll just find at junkyards, etc. And 75% of the metal used in the world today is recycled. And you can see why with all these cars you see all over the place. So I just love putting stuff together. I've done it ever since I was a kid. Other kids were going to birthday parties and stuff. I'd rather be building wheelbarrows or wagons or little airplanes and all that kind of stuff. That is actually came from, I just renovated part of an old boiler system.
Uh-huh.
All this material dates back to the early 1900s. And I just loved the looks of it. And I changed it and had it where I could sit up and, you know, worked on it pretty hard to get it. I just love the massiveness of it and the intricate work. And set it in the field. Well, a lot of times you have to records take it out there. This is the guy that does most of the work.
Uh-huh.
When I and this other, what am I gonna say? You know, they're good workers. They've been with me a long time. We know how to handle each other. We're in the country, and then you get wheels and you do stuff with it. I find out if I get enough of any kind of one kind of material, that if I put it aside for a while, just get it out of the way, some idea will come to me. I found a barrel this big around, this high. I reached over and found a wrench, World War I wrenches. Boy, my heart just started beating. And when the guy said it was full of wrenches, I said, what do you want for all of them? And he told me, and I took them and threw them over the fence and made really a nice piece out of it. What you see is what you get.
Right.
We call for creative viewing. I don't like to name anything. Put by the seat of my pants, the only way I can enjoy it. I just work intuitively. I really don't make designs. I'll do something and then like it one way and turn it over and like it better another way. I paint the same way. Crafts and art is two different. Crafts is doing what you know. Art's doing what you don't know, I think. It's sort of finding out who you are and what's inside of yourself. That's the way I see it anyhow. I don't know about other people. And I don't think you can really teach art. Because if you teach, what do? You don't want to do it like anybody else. Why you do something like somebody else? You want to find out what you've got to say, if indeed anything. And the more intuitive you become, I think the more ideas come to you. They're out there, you know. It's just sort of tuning in or being free enough to change directions. Instead of getting locked in, I'm going to do it this way, come hell or high water. It just works for me. Everybody has their own method, their own way of doing stuff, you know. And I found out, at least it's my philosophy, that you can't do it you got to do it by your own definitions. You don't do it to please somebody else. That's the reason I don't particularly like fooling with commissions. But if they do, when they do, they just say, do your thing, you know. And then that's fine. And that works. And the money always helps, you know. I just do it. You don't know what inspires you. Mm-hmm. You're like a sponge. Picasso says you go in the green forest, you end up painting green. You don't know what, you don't even think about it at the time. I'm just going to paint green, you know. But you're inspired by nature. You know, that's the root of everything. It's nature. Well, I grew up for the first 8 years of my life. I was in a very rural environment over in Charlotte County. And I can still remember how much I loved trees and birds and squirrels and fishing and all that. And it's so much more peaceful. Man, my idea of nothing to do is to drive from here to Washington and be on the road and fighting all that traffic. I lived in Washington about 5 years. 2 of my kids are born there. I loved it there. I think it's a wonderful town. You can get more for your buck there than any place in the world so far as museums and art and all the rest. And everybody sooner or later is going to come to Washington. So, but you hassle parking, and you know, I lived in Georgetown, which was wonderful 20, 25 years ago, but now you can't find a place to park. It's very touristy. I think finding who you are inside, where you're at peace wherever you are, is what is the name of the game. You don't have to. What makes you think you're going to be happy if you're not happy here? Well, what makes you think you're going to be happy when you get there? It's stupid, you know. If you got peace of mind, you're going to be happy wherever you are. You're going to make yourself be happy. You got the choice. Why not? And I don't. Who needs 3 cars? And I would big fan of David Thoreau and his philosophy, simplify and to live in the moment. You know, this is I'm enjoying this right here, right now, the surroundings, and just chatting with you all. And that's where it's at for me right now. And in an hour from now, I'll be playing tennis, and damn it, that's where it's at then. And then come back and I do some painting, and that's the way I like to live my life. It works better that way. It's your own call, what you do with it, and if you're willing to take responsibility for it, and to really realize that it is your creation. And nobody else's, and the uniqueness of the whole experience is what one has to. You're not born that way. You find these things out, and it's a continual search. It's like enlightenment. And you like a friend of mine named Ram Dass. He said before you're enlightened, you split wood and carry water, and after you're enlightened, you split wood and you carry water. I love painting. If I'm not painting, I do this, but I get a quicker fix this way, and I like doing big stuff. I don't know if I'm going to make a statement. I want to try to make one fairly big. You know. Did you ever see a bigger bird than that?
No, sure.
No, have I. I want you to guess what this bird is made out of. Can you imagine how long that took?
Wrenches?
No, that isn't a bad guess.
I don't know. What is that made out of?
You're not doing much guessing. You go to the head of the class if you guess. Look at the shapes. I might give you a clue.
They look like letters.
No, that isn't too far off, but that isn't what. Look at the shapes really good.
I see a foot.
So what does that tell you?
Cowboy tools? Shoe stretchers?
They're dies for cutting leather. They're very, very fine grade of steel. They came from Craddock Cherry, was a shoe manufacturer in Halifax. And I told them if they would give me their spare throwaway stuff, I would do a piece of sculpture for them. So these are dies. You can see they're real sharp, so we'd cut a shape out for the foot and the whole sort of thing all around there. And I started welding them together. Really didn't know where I was going with, and ended up doing this bird. Well, large doesn't necessarily mean better, whether it's painting or sculpting or whatever. It's the quality and how you feel when you see it. Is it something is it unique? Does it make you feel good? Do you like the shape of it, etc.? However, I do like to do large pieces, and they're held to carry someplace. If you're going to have a show somewhere. I've had a show at Washington Lee University and in different places, and once in a while they're kind enough to send down a truck and take this stuff there. But you can't take a lot. You certainly can't take some of the stuff I've got because it's really heavy. You'd have to get a lowboy and a boom truck to handle it. But nevertheless, I don't care for it. Whether I'd rather just as soon and not go any place. Now, I must admit that I would like a piece at the Hirshhorn. You know, I would like a piece there. I'd like a piece at the North Carolina Museum of Art, and one of the curators there bought a piece of my work. It's like a child or something. You don't, if you really like it, you don't want to leave it. I'd rather leave it with one of my kids. I got 4 kids, and then to have it go someplace else. You know, a lot of times I'll just leave it here in the county. You know, I love this county. My roots go very deep here. I grew up here, always knew I was coming back wherever I went. I knew I would come back here, and it's a matter of some kind of stewardship to give back a little bit. The fact that they enjoy this and they bring their kids and people come from the old folks' home, Woodview and Twin Oaks and different places, and fish. You know, I'm glad to be able to share something with them like that. It's you know, kindness is never wasted, and it helps me if it helps them. I think I think this opens them up to it. Again, because they don't. You're in a rural environment here. We got about 35,000 people in the whole county, and but I'm pretty amazed at how receptive they are to this stuff. You know, they bring the old people come from Woodview and they come down and fish, and I'll have people come from Mecklenburg schools with a load of kids coming down here and going all out, and from Carlbrook School and different places, and sharing. I mean, nothing is really worth having if you can't share it. And I can share right much here. They tell me at the Chamber of Commerce, and more people call up where they want to know where this place is. I didn't start it that way. I didn't start it for that reason. I just started doing stuff and had to have a place to put it. Well, I'm not going to put it in the woods, you know. I had a field up there that used to be at the back field, so I put it in there. And it's just evolved, and it's afforded me a lot of joy. And it's always good to feel like you're making a difference to other people. That's a really good feeling. That's about the main game in town, is making a difference in other people's lives. I mean, you finally learn that after about 50 or 60 years, that that's where it's at. People sometimes just bring goats and drop them off here. I've had 6 new goats one time. I built it so you wouldn't have to take the gates down. Donkeys can't cross it.
What are those made out of?
You want to do some guessing again?
All right.
I'll give you a clue.
All right.
They're heavy as lead. Very, very heavy. And they're discarded. So they've been used up. That's the reason I have them.
I don't know, batteries?
No.
Irons?
You give up?
I give up.
We use it. They're rock quarry. For breaking up granite and stone and stuff. What you're standing on here.
Uh-huh.
And they're sharp when they start. So all the pounding, they get rounded off, they throw them away. And I did that sort of thing. Like, I had this guy here that's stretched out there. I had him on like a corpse type thing, and then I just decided to elevate him and with the judge and the angel and all that kind of stuff. It makes me feel good. It motivates me. But I'm going to do it, period. It owns me. I don't own it. And it's like a cross on a halo. You know, it's a price to pay because you give up other stuff. But there's nothing as gratifying or makes me feel quite as good as it does turning out something that I can have that eye high feeling, you know, man, this is what I want to say right here. This is it. I ain't touching it. I'm putting it aside, and it's seldom that happens for me in paintings. Once in a while it does. Right often it does with sculpture. But paintings, I will put them up and I'll look at them, or put them in the house and say, well, I don't like this. It's too dark here, and I'll go back and work it over. And most of the time, I end up improving it. But it's still always exciting to me. And I'll work till 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning often. I get into it and time just passes. It doesn't work too well with a relationship when you're having a relationship because I'm enjoying more what I'm doing than what I'm going to be doing. That's one way of looking at it. But it owns me, pretty much owns me, to tell you the truth. If you're an artist, I don't think anything else. I mean, your life or your religious or your spiritual life takes precedent over it. But other than that, I think it's a spiritual thing anyhow, to tell you the truth. When you really get down to it, I think it comes from a higher place. And I pretty much think artists are born. I feel like if one has this creative urge, that sooner or later it's going to bubble up. Yeah, and you're going to have to give in to it. You know, and I see it happening to people. A friend of mine who's a tennis player, and I'm a total tennis junkie. I've worn my knees out playing tennis. And he is starting now, and he's about 50. He said he didn't know why, but he's thoroughly enjoying it. And I hear that on a lot of people. And they ask me questions about it as though I know a lot about it. You never learn a hell of a lot about it. You never learn. Life is a learning experience. You never get there. You're constantly striving to do better. You never quite know who you are. There's so much that we don't know, so much that you're always looking for the discovery. And that's the beauty of it, you know, the mystery. Like Einstein said, the mystery is what's so great and so mysterious. Who the hell knows anything, really, when you get down to it? There's another dimension we don't have a clue about. And I'm just, it's a journey. I'm just very happy to be on it. And I'm going to stay on it as long as I can.